You already know how this ends. You've felt this before. That pull towards something new. The quiet certainty that this time is different, and you're already losing it, aren't you? Not dramatically. Nothing broke. It's just quieter now, smaller, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you're already thinking about the next thing. You know the list. You don't need to write it down. The hobbies, the projects, the phases, each one started with that same pull, that feeling of, yes, this is it, and each one ended the same way, not with failure exactly, more like evaporation. First there's aliveness, then there's effort, then there's this growing distance you can't quite explain, and then nothing, and you move on, or you stay stuck, which is its own kind of moving on. Here's the part that probably hurts most. It's not that you're lazy. Lazy people don't carry this much guilt about stopping. And it's not that you don't care. People who don't care don't keep searching. You keep searching. So the problem isn't motivation. It might not even be a problem. Here's something that took me a while to say clearly. Your brain rule in the palm wasn't really built to stay interested. Not in the way you've been expecting it to. That's not a comforting reframe. That's just actually how it works. The brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. Its job from the very beginning is to figure out what's new, build a model of it, and then file it away. Because once something is understood, the brain stops needing to pay attention to it. What you called passion, a lot of it was novelty, and novelty can't by its nature runs out. This doesn't mean you chose the wrong things. It might mean you've been measuring interest the wrong way. Let's slow down here for a second, because there's a piece of this most people get wrong. Dopamine. Everyone talks about dopamine like it's about pleasure. It's not. Or, it's not only that. Dopamine spikes before the reward, in the uncertainty, in the not knowing yet. That's the feeling you recognize as excitement. That alive, electric thing at the start. But as you keep going, the brain starts to predict, and the moment it can predict what's coming, dopamine drops. Not because the thing got worse, because it got known. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The extraordinary doesn't disappear. It just becomes background, normal, unremarkable. And here's the uncomfortable part. Some people are more sensitive to that drop than others. For certain people, the need for new stimulation isn't a preference. It's closer to a neurological requirement. There's even a personality trait for it. Openness to experience. People high in openness don't just enjoy new ideas. They need them, like fuel. So if you keep cycling through things, it may not mean you're uncommitted. It may mean your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. It finished the chapter, and it's already restless for the next one. That's not a character flaw. It's just the shape of your mind. So what do you actually do with that? Not fix it, not fight it, understand it, maybe. 5 shifts. Not rules, not a system, just things worth sitting with. First, stop measuring interest by how excited you feel. That early rush, the one that makes you think this is the one, that's neurological novelty. It was never a reliable signal, a fiddle of what matters to you. Real engagement is quieter. It deepens after the excitement leaves. Most people quit right at the dopamine dip, the moment it stops feeling electric. But the question isn't whether it still feels exciting. The question is whether it still means something. Those are not the same question. Second, look at what you've left behind. Not to feel bad about it, to find the pattern. Your abandoned interests aren't random noise. There's almost always a thread running through them, some deeper preoccupation your mind keeps returning to. Look at what you loved, even briefly, even the things you're embarrassed you quit. What did they all have in common? That thread, it's more honest than any single interest ever was. Third, you don't always need a new thing. Sometimes you need a new angle on the thing you already have. The brain re-engages when a familiar topic produces an unexpected question. a harder problem, a different teacher, a stranger approach. You might not need a new hobby. You might just need a new layer inside the one you abandoned. Fourth, pleasure and meaning are not the same thing, and this one is easy to miss. Pleasure is felt in the moment. Meaning is usually only recognized afterward, in reflection. A lot of people lose interest because they're chasing the feeling, the aliveness, the rush, instead of asking whether the thing is growing them. Those are different pursuits, and only one of them survives past novelty. Fifth, the space between interests NAMA is not wasted time. The brain's resting state, what neuroscientists call the default mode network, NAMA is also where it integrates, where it quietly connects things, where genuine curiosity gets prepared. The gap isn't emptiness. It's something more like ground being tilled. Here's the simplest version of all of this. Your brain is a novelty engine. Your deeper self is looking for meaning, and those two things are often pulling in opposite directions. The engine scans for what's new. The self keeps asking what's real. When interest fades, the engine has finished its scan. That's the signal. Not to quit in shame, not to panic, just to ask, what's still here when the novelty is gone? That remainder, that quieter, less exciting thing underneath. That's usually closer to the truth. Maybe you don't have an attention problem. Maybe you have a mind that keeps outgrowing containers, and you haven't found one wide enough yet. The things you left behind, they weren't failures, they were questions. And the pattern of all those questions, it's been trying to tell you something. You just have to get still enough, quiet enough, to hear what it actually is. And that might take longer than you'd like.